Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, Racket Journey with Kira. Stay tuned. Is this on?
Harry, what are we doing here?
Oh, hey, bud. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm just setting up my SwingVision over here so that during our hitting session, we can, see how bad I'm doing today.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But you won't be doing bad, Harry.
No.
You'll be moving your feet, watching the ball.
This is why I love you, buddy. All right, so we got Kira over here, and looks like you're playing with a pure drive. How long have you been playing with the standard pure drive?
I think I've been playing with this racket for a couple years now. Maybe like 2 or 3 years.
What kind of string and how tight?
I recently just decided to string at full poly. It's the RPM Blast, and they are strung at 44 right now.
44. Okay. And I see you have a 1/8 grip with an over grip. Let me check one quick thing. Where's your grip? That is your grip size. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Because some people, too small, too big. Just want to make sure. What do you like about this racket?
I feel like the pure drive gives me pretty easy power. I get quite a bit of spin too. The weight is nice. I feel like I get both power going through the court, but I'm also not too slow with it at the net. So, yeah, it's a pretty good feel all around.
Why do you want to change?
It is a little stiff. My arm kind of hurts. Actually, I just got back from sectionals, 5 matches, and my arm was dead in about the 4th match. I could not really serve.
Oh.
So, not so great.
Okay, so you're looking for maybe a head lighter racket, gives you a little more spin, possibly a little more power?
I definitely want to keep the power. Still love the spin, but maybe something a little more flexible and actually a little more control.
So, Kira and I communicated before today, and I chose a few rackets for her. The first being the Radical MP, the second being the Speed MP, and then the third being the Clash. Now, because of what she told me in terms of her arm is why I chose the Clash, I feel like the pure drive is a little on the stiff side. I wanted to see if she can handle something that's a smidge softer. That's why I chose the Radical and the Speed. The RF is just along for the ride because I just had one in the bag. So a little more head heavy, pushes it out a little bit more. But let's go test it. right, so that was a fun play test. I actually got to see how you hit with the various rackets. I got to see a little bit more of how you hit with your own racket. The one thing I noticed that you're actually very in tune with your own racket already. That's probably the 2 to 3 years that you've already been playing with it. So in my mind, it's going to be a little hard to pry you away from this racket. It'll have to be something very stellar. But let's start with what we did here. What did you think of the Radical?
So I actually used to play with this racket when I picked up tennis in high school. Very first racket. I don't remember too much from back then. Honestly, it was just the racket I was given, so that's what I played with. But coming back to it now, it actually hits really nicely. I feel like I developed a lot of spin, and I got some power too. I was hitting pretty deep. This racket felt honestly really nice. Not too bad. So
I think that the Radicals kind of come a long way since then too. They get better as the generations turn over. So I feel like this is one of the best ones they've ever made too. So it's come a long way. So is this a keeper for you for now?
I definitely would want to keep playing with this, see how I like it. Has a really good feel. So yeah, keep it on the radar. Yeah, so for this one, I feel like I didn't develop as much spin as my Battle Out racket. But it still felt pretty nice. I don't know, maybe just not as great as something else could be for me.
Got it. So keeper or no keeper?
Probably not.
No keeper. Okay. Okay. The next one is because of your arm and our correspondence, that's why I chose the Clash. I chose the Clash Pro because you're coming from a pure drive. So the extra weight is what I was looking for in terms of why I chose that one. And it's the same thing as it's 100 square inches. There's an extra cross there. What did you think of that?
For some reason, I actually felt like this one was a little heavy when I was swinging. I still developed, it was pretty close to the head speed as far as my shots. Not too much spin, not too much power per se, but still hit through. Just a little heavy, so I'm curious to see what it would be like if I volleyed with it. Yeah.
This is a love-hate racket. Either you love it or you hate it immediately. So there's no maybes. All right, and we just had this lying around, and because it's a Fed and it's got weight in the head, it is a little smaller. I thought you hit pretty well with this racket. I think the extra weight in the head actually helped you plow through the ball pretty well. What did you think?
Yeah, so for the Fed racket, I feel like I generate a lot of power, maybe a little less control, maybe a little less spin as well, but it's very easy to swing. Ball goes really deep. This one is really nice. I also gotta say the color is really nice on this racket, and I may be favoring it a little bit for that too. So
let me get some clarification here now. Sometimes before we go on racket journeys, I like to ask people, do you have a color preference?
Definitely have a color preference. I've tried out a few other rackets, didn't really like the color, maybe won't pick them.
Can you stand the orange?
Surprisingly, I like the Radical. It's really bright. The color is actually, it's pretty nice, so I don't mind that one.
Okay, good. Now, are you brand loyal?
I am not brand loyal. I don't think I would mind switching to something else besides Battle Out, so yeah, I've tried it out a few different rackets now, and
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to hand it over to Coach Jerod and ask him. I'm going to pose this question right now. What did you think on the other side of the court that you saw?
So if we're going to run down the list of rackets again, as Kira mentioned, she uses the Pure Drive. This is also a racket that I used back in the day. As you guys know, 100 square inch head size. Definitely very stiff. yeah, Kira played sectional this weekend and was complaining about her arm. I will also say I am kind of an influence for her switching away from that stick, just because that's kind of the main thing in terms of just stiffness and comfort. It's been affecting her game a little bit. So if we're going with the Radical, I have tried this racket as well. The launch angle is actually pretty high, but for some reason with Kira, she can actually keep it pretty low and hits through the court pretty well. So as I was kind of on the other side, hitting a couple of her shots back, I felt like her spin was very tight with the stick. At the same time, the racket actually is pretty heavy and hefty for an 11.2 ounce racket, which is kind of interesting. So you can definitely feel that her shots had some heft behind them. She definitely looked a lot more comfortable swinging this one. And I think it has a slightly smaller head size than the Pure.
98.
Correct? So with a 98 square inch head size racket, you can definitely swing the racket kind of more through her stroke instead of kind of catching it slightly late with the Pure Drive. If we move on to the Speed MP, or the Speed, I guess, MP. This racket might have been a little bit too flexible for Kira. I think she's kind of used to the Pure Drive kind of offering just easy power on everything. So typically when you switch to a more flexible racket, you kind of have to do more of the work yourself. While she was getting a lot of spin with that frame, I don't think her balls were kind of as heavy as with the Radical itself. And I think she was kind of swinging pretty hard and unfortunately not really getting the depth that she was looking for. Again, this is more of a control-oriented racket. I think the Radical offers a little more power, which is why it's more similar to the Pure Drive itself. So I think I kind of echo her comments where I don't really think it did anything special for her on this stick itself. If we move on to the Clash, as Harry has mentioned before, this is also kind of like the Pure Drive, I guess, of Wilson. Another big thing too, though, is that this is a 16 by 20 string pattern, not a 16 by 19 string pattern. So I think she actually got a little bit less spin with this stick. Her balls were a little flatter, actually. At the same time, I think the heft was also missing on this one a little bit. And I think she also mentioned that the racket was a little bit heavy for her, which is why she may have been catching the balls a little bit late. So maybe she wasn't getting through her stroke completely through, but I do feel like kind of some of her shots weren't really hitting consistently over and over again. And then if we move on to the Fed, Kira has had her eyes on this one, mostly one because of the color, but two, not just minus the color itself. As I've tried this racket, as you guys know in previous videos, this thing offers a ton of pop on it, in my opinion. The string pattern stays pretty tight in the middle and kind of goes out towards the sides, so I think it offers kind of a little more forgiveness compared to old Fed rackets. At the same time, this stick is more tailored towards everyone and not just the traditional player that hits with the player's game and looking for volleys and the strokes itself. So I think Kira looked very comfortable with this stick, but the problem is I think it does offer a little bit too much pop in certain instances. So when she was kind of swinging out, she may have sprayed a little bit, which is also another reason why I kind of wanted to switch away from the Pure Drive, because she can't really swing out completely. But if she made perfect contact and kind of was timing the ball correctly with this stick, I think it worked out very well. In my opinion, I think the two favorite sticks that may be in her list are probably the Radical MP and maybe the Fed 01. So I think we'll probably leave it to Kira to decide which one she kind of wants to choose.
We got more. Don't worry. So after we hit, I asked Kira a question. I said, when you strike a basic rally ball, where are you aiming over the net? And she told me that she wants to hit it more flat, and which means about 2 to 3 feet over the net. That racket did that for her. She was hitting through the shot, through the ball. The ball was coming over on the lower end of the spectrum and with pace. So I felt like what you described to me that you wanted, this works better. The Radical, on the other hand, gave you a lot more height, gave you a lot more clearance. So that's kind of a tale of two rackets, and I think you're a little bit more in tune with this one. But I think we'll see as you keep testing these both out what you prefer. My guess is you're not going to be able to hit it past anybody with the Radical, and you'll be either hitting it past people with this racket or hitting it out. What does that sound like?
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. Hopefully more in the court so than out, but we'll see.
I'm glad I was able to analyze that. All right, so we're going to keep your journey going, but as of now, you're going to hang on to the RF in the standard and the Radical MP for now. All right, so as we go along, we will keep you guys informed and see what we wind up with later on. All right, thank you for sharing your journey with us. Where can we find you?
You can find our joint Instagram at KJ Tennis.
All right. Coach Jerod, want to go it alone too?
Yes, and follow me on Instagram at MawTennis.
All right. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Men. Our Spin.